Hey, what's good? It's Left Fresh Podcast. Thank you all for jumping on with me. Um, Happy Hump Day. It's Wednesday, getting through that middle of the week. Sports talk. Had a busy week to start it off, and at a good point to going towards the end of the week. So appreciate you all for jumping on. Want to encourage you all to subscribe, like, comment, share, tell a friend, tell a friend. Thank you all for jumping on with me again. Um, Got a nice, like I said, got a nice episode lined up. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. Not gonna hold you any longer. But like I said, you can find me on Instagram at This Is Left Fresh. You can find me on TikTok at This Is Left Fresh. And like I said, without further delay, let's get into it. Um, Happened on Monday, national title game. You see big turnout. Michigan pulled it out against my UConn team. My team I'm pretty hurt right now. But I'll get over it though. I think we had a good season. Had a good run, so can't get mad at it. But you know, Michigan, I knew between either them or Arizona that the winner would probably win the national title, and I was correct. Only that I had Arizona pulling it out, but Michigan showed that hey, they were stacked too. Got a nice size advantage. Played more physical. They were ready to go in pretty much anyone. So I mean, it was on a collision course, and got to salute them for that. Good to see the Fab Five discussing this, celebrating, kind of pushing them to that, you know. But hate to be that, hated that had to be at my team's expense, but nevertheless, yep, it is what it is. But it was a good win for Michigan. I salute my team for staying in it with them and not getting blown out. Interesting makeup for Michigan's team, though. I mean, I like the way this team was assembled. See, they finished in the season record 37-3. They were number one in the poll for the most of the season. They pretty much all the way number one in their region, smacked through their region, smacked everybody along the way. Nothing suspenseful happening here. Once anyone ran into Michigan, it was pretty much over. You see the first round by 21 points, second round 21 points. Sweet 16, double digits, double digits in the Elite Eight, double digits in the Final Four, and then I mean UConn's the only team that actually didn't get beat by double digits. So I salute my team for that. But Michigan was obviously a perfect storm to say the least. And what I mean by that is they picked up a lot of their key players were transfers. Yaxel Lindenberg from UAB, he transferred over here, 23 years old. Got Adai Mara, I think he went to UCLA, transfer 7'3". Big time shot blocker for them. He was a problem in the paint. Um, Got a couple other guys. All of the key players are all transfers and everything like that. So um, the NIL is definitely having a big effect. Definitely taking its hold. I mean, it did it in football with Indiana. It's doing this thing in basketball as well, and it's the Big Ten. I mean, Big Ten is definitely in the mix, especially when you start putting California in the mix with that conference. I mean, that money is long in the Big Ten. So I mean, they picking up a lot of good players. I mean, in football, you see it in college. I mean, like in college football, you see the team Indiana stacked together, and then now you see it in college basketball as well. I mean, if you're even a good player on a potential Cinderella team, you're pretty much getting picked up by the big fish. It's definitely a dynamic shift. Michigan's always been in a powerhouse team, though, in college basketball. Though, I mean, that's not a surprise. It's just the way they're assembling their teams now. They got a freshman in Trey McKinney, but other than that, I mean, a lot of these guys are upperclassmen, transfers from other schools, and they're putting together these perfect storms. It looks just how Indiana put together their team in football. Interesting. Dusty May did a great job coaching this team. I mean, you got to salute it though. I mean, the way they put this team together to get the type of chemistry that they have in just one season. I mean, you got to give him credit for that. You got to give Dusty May a lot of credit for that. I mean, he had them running on all cylinders, and like I said, a lot of these players just got together one season. I mean, we talk about freshmen getting recruited all to a team at once and not having the chemistry to win a title. I mean, you see the great freshmen that performed in this all throughout the regular season. They kind of just didn't have enough to get to the later rounds in the tournament. But just in the same, you got a lot of these transfers who get put together on these teams that have the chemistry that they have. I mean, I think, I mean, of course, a lot of it has to do with a lot of the age difference as well. A lot of these are upperclassmen as well, so it's a big difference. You pretty much got grown men, you know, assembling together from different schools. I mean, you've seen it at Iowa State too. They got transfers over there as well. That's why you see their resurgence. See teams that, like I said, are not necessarily as customary for them to have these deep postseason runs or have these powerhouse teams. I mean, Michigan's not that case. Michigan and Arizona and those type of teams have always been great. It's just the difference is how they're assembling their rosters these days with the NIL and the transfer portal. Um, but it's a good look though. I mean, I like the dynamic. I like the change. Um, we've seen a great freshman class come sad into the college season. I mean, it's a great ending for Michigan, but I mean, it's a big ending. You're going to see a lot of these young freshmen who are not going to be back next year. They're going to the NBA. Like, I can pretty much tell you about the top 10 freshmen this season is pretty much going to be top 10 picks in the NBA. So, I mean, the question I seen was, what is Yaxel Lindenberg's draft stock look like? And that's interesting because Yaxel Lindenberg, he was the leading scorer for the Wolverines. Big body, really athletic. I think around 6'9", about 250. He's a big body, but the limitation everyone's looking at is his age. He's 23. Usually draft stock only goes but so high for a player that of that age. I mean, he's ready to go right now. What you're pretty much seeing is pretty much getting ready to be the best of them at this point. I mean, it's usually not like a high ceiling for him, which is why draft stock usually isn't that high for older players. But yeah, he did. I'm pretty sure Jackson Lindenberg definitely helped his draft stock enough to possibly get into the lottery. Um, I mean, if you're a team that's looking for somebody right away, you can just throw them into a system. I mean, Jackson Lindenberg can definitely be thrown right away into a system. Adai Mara, another big body, a shot blocker. The NBA can always use a rim protector. His draft stock definitely grew up from this draft. I mean, from this tournament. I can definitely see him getting into the lottery or getting into the late first round just off his shot blocking ability. I mean, this teams is always looking for a good rim protector, especially in this league now. Everybody's looking for defense. I mean, a good rim protector can erase a lot of bad defense. Yeah, look for a Damara to, stock to go up. Even if you can be skeptical of him, his stock is definitely going to go up because of that. But yeah, I mean, it was a great ending to the college season. Like I said, looking forward to the draft to see where um the Darren Peters is, the AJ DeBass you know, Darius A Cups, where they land in the draft. I mean, the whole NBA is pretty much. I mean, it's about 12 teams in the NBA tanking to get a chance at one of them. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily mad at it either. I mean, especially at this point in the season, at this point. But I'm gonna get to the NBA in a second. But everyone that just jumped on, want to encourage you to like, subscribe, comment, share, tell a friend. Like I said, it's the Left Fresh podcast on Wednesday, sports episode. Saturday, I got the hip hop episodes. Um, like I said, I'm just going to switch gears now to the NBA. I'm going to switch the gears into the NFL. That's right. NFL, not too much news in the off season, but, it's getting closer and closer to draft night. We're going to see, who are going to be the top picks. Like I said, in a couple of episodes, for the last couple of episodes, it's not really a quarterback heavy draft, but you still get a lot of different needs, different premium positions available in this draft. I think this draft is, you can still get some quality pieces in this particular draft. As I got the mock draft up, and one I got from, I believe this is ESPN, yeah, ESPN, from PFF, all the different type of mock drafts all floating around out here. But yeah, this is a mock draft that I got around. Just wanted to get the key players to discuss. You see Fernando Mendoza still, projected to go number one to the Raiders. Um, Still got the Jets at 16. I think they traded already down, but they wanted to. There's still a lot of talk about Ty Simpson. Now, Ty Simpson is considered, um, another first round quarterback, I guess, kind of a reach. But like I said, the desperation of a quarterback team that need a QB. Um, the Jets, they still talk that the Jets might need to take a chance on them or anything like that. But right now, you got the Jets at number 2, and you got Arvell Reese as their projected number 2 pick. But See some quality linemen. Um, See another great edge. Got another lineman from Sonny Styles. You got Cardinal Tate. Got David Bailey. Got Makai Lemon. Francis Malgoa from offensive tackle from Miami. Projected to go to the Bengals. Bengals could definitely use an offensive line. But I'm gonna look at Jeremiah Love. A lot of people question taking a running back in the first round or taking them really high, like in the top 10. But if you already got pieces in place and you still find yourself at the top of the lottery, I see nothing going wrong with swinging for the fences with a running back, especially if there is no quarterback available. Like I said, I mean, you got to have other pieces in place. I wouldn't just start a blank canvas off with just a running back. So I can understand Jeremiah Love not exactly being in the top 10, but he can definitely, hang around the first round somewhere because he looks like a home run hitter. Um, Kind of like the Ashton Jeanty was not the same type of hype for Jeremiah Love, of course, but Jeremiah Love is definitely looking like one of those type of backs that can be a home run hitter. One of those one cut, gone, 50-yard run type of running backs. But one of the key positions I want everybody to take a look at is that edge and linebacker line position in this top 10 because you got four players that I feel like it can go either way with all of them. Except we got Arvell Reese. Like I said, he's projected at number two. On most draft boards, he's up there pretty high in the top three. Edge from Ohio State. Real solid dude. Real good, you know, real solid linebacker. And then you also got his teammate Sonny Styles. Now, Sonny Styles is a freak athlete, 6'5", 40-yard dash is crazy for his size. Very athletic linebacker. Both of these guys are teammates, so you can see why Ohio State's defense was so lethal last year. Um, the question is, how elite, how high is the ceiling for both of them? I mean, they're both playing alongside each other, and of course, it would be great if every edge had another edge. But I mean, which one is the one you would take first? And that's interesting to me because I feel like it's kind of tough to pick between them. I think Sonny Styles is like 6'5". Like I said, he's a big dude. He moves pretty fast as well. But I think Arvell Reese is like real great with the hands and the footwork. So I mean, I can understand, people most going for Arvell Reese first. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about, who the better long term, pick would be. And then also, everyone's also talking about Ruben Bain from Miami. A lot of talk about his lack of wingspan, that he has kind of the shortest arms. But you see the motor that he has. He plays with a high motor, strong beast like dude. I think a lot of people are going to take a chance. A lot of teams will take a chance on him. He found a way around, being destructive in college. So I can still see him having a high ceiling in the NFL. It's going to be tough with some of these linemen, though. His offensive linemen in the league, with shorter arms and everything. But we've seen, different circumstances get overcome all the time. But I tell people who's my sleeper. I think David Bailey's going to be something different. I liked him at Texas Tech. I know he had another great linebacker around him as well, but David Bailey to me looks like he just kind of does everything right. Like his IQ, the sacks, the production. To me, I think he's the one that, is probably one of the most slept on. And I think he's going to probably be the one to make the most impact. I mean, it's just a long term, I think I have right there. But looking at his numbers, like I said, we got I think he led the conference in sacks, double digit sacks. Yeah, I think he just finds a way. He has a nose to get into the ball. He has a nose for the big play. He just kind of like does everything correct. So, like I said, those are my big four right there that I was looking at as far as linemen and edge rushers: David Bailey, Ruben Bain, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of impressed with that type of group, with that type of room in this draft, because I feel like if there is no quarterbacks, um, that position right there is probably should be as much sought after, especially as much as defense makes a difference in today's league. As much as the defense is caught up, the demand for like an elite edge rusher is high. You can't get a good quarterback, at least get somebody disruptive on the edges. So And then you see the wide receivers. You got the Cardinal Tates. Um, you know, you got the Makai Lemons. This I like Makai Lemon. He's got great route running ability. Yeah, he knows how to run a real solid, clean, crisp route. Great hands. He's willing to go up to make the big play. Cardinal Tate, it remains to be seen how he's gonna work in Cleveland. Most mock drafts have him going to Cleveland with no question. I mean, got to have a weapon for Shador or Deshaun Watson or whoever's the starting quarterback for Cleveland. But yeah, Cardinal Tate from Ohio State looks like pretty much a lock to go to Cleveland. But yeah, the linebacker position, the edge position, that's probably one of the most interesting positions for me in this draft. Like I said, they do got some quality offensive linemen as well. Spencer Fano from Utah. I mean Spencer Fano, Francis Malgoa from Miami. Yeah, you got Monroe Freeland. Yeah, offensive guards up and down. I mean, yeah, this draft got some pretty good line. Got some good. Oh, Melser Delane from LSU at corner. Like, yeah, this draft I think can make up for not having a lot of quarterbacks in it. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to see it. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely interested in seeing. Oh yeah, got a bunch of line. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the mock drafts. I mean, the NFL, like I said, is getting closer and closer to draft day. Um, Start seeing. I don't know if I'm gonna see too many teams making any moves as far as trading up or trading down. A lot of questions because Kirk Cousins ended up signing with the Raiders that there'll be a possibility that the Raiders might possibly trade down or just have Francisco Mendoza sit behind Kirk Cousins. Me personally, like I think it's kind of I don't think it really makes sense when you have to sit behind a quarterback when your team is not winning. I felt like Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith when the Chiefs were winning. I felt like Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre when the Packers were winning. I don't really see the sense in Fernando Mendoza sitting behind Kirk Cousins when the Raiders are just rebuilding. I mean, there's really nothing to do but just pretty much throw him out there, let him take his lumps. I mean, to me, that first season, look at Caleb Williams, look at some of these other quarterbacks that get thrown to the wolves. I don't think anybody holds those first seasons against a quarterback. You kind of get that year and a half sample before you realize whether you got your guy or not. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's interesting. And like I said, I'm interested in seeing how, what the Raiders do around these moves. But it's going to be a rough season regardless. I don't see it really being a good season off the top. So, be interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and switch gears into the NBA. And the NBA is kind of, like I said, wrapping up. A lot of different conversations. It's getting old and repetitive. And I just can't wait to the playoffs. But I'm gonna get to the standings and start off in the East. And you see Pistons still at 57 wins. No team in the East has 60 wins, but there are 10 teams over 500 in the East still, which I said it was from the last episode how impressed I was because it's been a long time since the Eastern Conference has had that many teams over 500 and competitive. I mean, all 10 spots is literally fighting for those 8 spots. So, but the key team I think everyone is really surprised at, and they're playing the Cavaliers right now, is the Hawks. Um, the Hawks are basically still trying to stay out of play-in right now, but they're in the 5th spot. You see how tight those games are. It's like you're talking like a 1 or 2 game difference. But yeah, nevertheless, the Hawks are flying right now, literally. I mean, they're just kind of just um, they're looking tough right now. I mean, looking like the type of team that I don't think a higher seed team wants to run into. Um, yeah, and then I mean, you see the Cavaliers; they have 50 wins, 4 50-win teams in the East. That's pretty much look like how it's pretty much set to be for the home court advantage teams. You see the Cavaliers with Harden after adding Harden, they've been pretty at a good pace. The Knicks beating the good teams, losing to the bad teams. The Celtics look like they're ready to put a stranglehold on the East, especially if Cade Cunningham doesn't show any progress of coming back to 100%. I mean, even if he makes it back, whether he's at gonna be at 100%, that's gonna be the question right there. I mean, the Pistons still look great defensively, but in the playoffs where everything slows down, uh, it's gonna be tough for them to get any baskets outside of Cade, and that's kind of my concern right there. So I mean, I'm I'm looking forward to the playoffs to see how these play-ins play out. As you look at the bottom, I'm thinking like Charlotte is probably the play-in team that nobody wants to see. Um, I'm not quite sure if the Magic or the Sixers can actually hold off on keeping the Hornets out the playoffs. Uh, Miami looks like they're sliding though. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Miami finally just misses the playoffs altogether. But then again, I mean, Eric Spoelstra is not really the type of coach that you kind of bet against. So I mean, that's kind of tough too. I'm not really looking forward as a Knicks fan. I'm not looking forward to seeing any of these bottom seeded teams because if I had to pick, I would rather see the Heat or the Magic. But as a Knicks fan, I don't want to see the Hornets. Um, don't want to see the Raptors either. I mean, I think the Raptors, they're still a little bit shaky as well. But I mean, the Magic are definitely the shakiest. I would love to see Paolo and Franz Wagner if I'm the Knicks because I feel like they're definitely, if there's anybody that's a first round exit, it's them. Do not want to see LaMelo Ball. He's a bigger guard against Jalen Brunson. I don't like the way that looks. Um, they got three guys that could just shoot dagger threes all day long. Con Canepo, Brandon Miller. I mean, they're a young team, they're inexperienced, but at the same time, I mean, if they're firing from all cylinders from three. And like I said, the big guard matchup, I don't like the chances for my Knicks getting out of the first. That could be a first round upset. But I don't know if you all following that story, following what's going on in Milwaukee, but that's a lot of dysfunction in Milwaukee. I think the players union is getting involved with, Milwaukee was trying to sit down Giannis, and Giannis not wanting to sit, and you know, teams, the players union is, complaining about tanking. I heard Doc Rivers was, had a players meeting where he had to tell them that he took teams to the conference championships and finals that wasn't even supposed to be there, and oh man, but yeah, that I, I don't know where Doc was going with that. I mean, that Celtics team was pretty loaded, but I don't know if he wants to go into playoff history too deep. But yeah, I mean, it's rough in Milwaukee right now. And I mean, honestly, like I said before, and I've said it on this episode, I've said it on previous episodes, trade Giannis. I mean, it's just that simple. I mean, he wants to stay loyal. He's not the type of player that's not going to ask for a trade. But I mean, for the sake of Milwaukee getting better, you don't have any assets. You have no way to rebuild around Giannis, so you're going to have to get rid of him. Um, you look at the Bulls, you look at the Nets, you look at the Pacers, you look at the Wizards. You know, I understand why a lot of there's a lot of people mad, detractors mad about tanking and everything. But hear me out. Some of these teams are just bad. The Wizards, I mean, they're like the youngest team in the NBA. A lot of these players are very few experience. NBA is a baby step league. And if Trey Young and Anthony Davis, you traded for them mid-season, they're always out, they're going to be bad. And then the Pacers, they lost Evan Turner, they lost Tyrese Halliburton. They're not very good without them. And it goes to show you how good Tyrese Halliburton is. When they made it to the finals last year, they were a 6 seed, didn't have home court advantage in any series. They struggled because Tyrese Halliburton wasn't playing well. They started winning when Tyrese Halliburton was playing well. I'm noticing the trend. Tyrese Halliburton is an elite point guard. So the Nets, starting from scratch, they got like 5 first round picks, and none of them are probably going to make a rookie team. The Bulls, like I said, they got 4 point guards. They actually waived one of them. Yeah, these teams are just bad. And luckily for them, there is a draft lottery because that's the only way you're going to get better. Bulls, everybody's happy about the Bulls having cap space, and I'm asking, what is cap space going to do for the Bulls when there's really no superstars in free agency? How are you going to land a superstar? Who are you going to trade for? It's interesting what Bulls can actually do or not do outside of drafting. You know, Some teams got to be bad. I've seen Draymond complaining about the Kings game where they were fouling while they were in the penalty, and it was like a 1 point game, and it looked like it just looked bad and everything. And I see a lot of media pundits and talking heads saying, "Oh, this is a disgrace on the game," and you know, switch over to the Western Conference while I do this. And what about just what are teams that just bad? You look at the Jazz. Okay, the Jazz, they may be tanking. The Kings, I don't think the Kings are tanking. The Kings are bad. Okay, the best players, they don't even win with the best players. DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, they told them pretty much sat them, pretty much have them sit down. They're bad. Then you see Cooper Flag with the Mavericks, pretty much starting from scratch. They're bad. Memphis, the Pelicans. See, these are teams that pretty much have to play the draft lottery. Some of these teams have been playing the draft lottery for years. They're just bad. Poorly run, poorly constructed. Nobody, no star player wants to sign with them. I mean, there's not enough, superstar level players to go around in unrestricted free agency. So, I mean, the only hope of getting better, the only way of getting better is tanking for AJ DeBanco or Darren Peterson. The system is put in place for bad teams to get better. So some teams let themselves go in order to get better. I mean, even if they competed, and if they are, and I mean, I'm pretty sure they are competing. I mean, some of these teams are really trying their best, just getting their faces kicked in. Memphis Grizzlies, they hit a record number of threes the night before, and still lost by almost 20 points. I think they hit like 29 threes and still lost. The Grizzlies are just bad. I think they gave up 100. They lost 142 to 126. They're just bad. The Warriors, steps back, but this is not a competitive team. This is a team that failed to get younger or go to younger stars, and they just got an old team with little depth. I mean, I don't see who Steph's going to pass the reins to. Like I said, Jimmy Butler's out. Probably won't, in his late 30s, max contract. It's going to be tough. You got to be careful with the Portland Trail Blazers. Portland, they got a young team. They get in the play in, they might shake something up. I'm not sure if the Suns are going to be liable to get hit or the Clippers. I mean, Portland could very well just go home, but then again, I mean, you got to put them against. In this case, they would be playing the Warriors, and I think Steph is still pretty good though. It's a baby step league, but sooner or later, I don't know. Portland might be turning the other corner, especially if they miss the play in and they end up getting in the lottery again. I mean, that's another possibility. The Suns. Oh, and before I forget, just remind people, Atlanta Hawks still got pick swap between the Bucks and the Pelicans. So as good as the Hawks are, like I said, they got that pick. Moving on. Suns, it's surprising everybody with after trading Kevin Durant, how Dylan Brooks has been playing this season. I mean, playing both sides. I mean, great two-way ball. Dylan Brooks has been playing the most underrated two-way ball in the league so far this year. They're over 500. They're still fighting. They're slated to play against the Spurs, though. I think the Spurs can finish them off. Clippers. Yeah, I think that play is going to be interesting. Suns, Clippers, Blazers, Warriors. Yeah, that's going to be interesting playing right there. Because if Suns and Clippers, whoever loses that, going to play the winner of the Trailblazers and the Warriors. Yeah, imagine the Clippers playing the Warriors for that last spot. Kawhi versus Steph. That's tough. That's going to be a good one. Timberwolves. Timberwolves are kind of like that team that's just kind of lingering around in the West. I mean, you see the Nuggets get right back into the third spot. It's going to be an interesting series right there. I want to see how that plays out between the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. Ant-Man versus Joker, that's always primetime cinema right there. Used to say the Lakers against the Rockets, that's the series that the Lakers will want. But, after Luka's hamstring injury, after Austin Reeves out for an extended period of time, and LeBron basically pushed back up from the third role to having to be the guy and elevate a Lakers team with really no depth now. And you see the Lakers after hitting 50 wins is starting to come back down after after those big injuries. Now it's almost like what series can they win? I mean, just that fast. I mean, there's a possibility Luka could come back and recover from the hamstring injury, but I don't really like the chances, because even when you come back, that hamstring it kind of hinders you. You're not really 100% with a hamstring, coming back from that. And as far as Austin Reeves, they need him too. I mean, the Lakers needed every bit of those three. As soon as they got them back, I mean, that's the most bad luck you can possibly have because, I mean, you had all three of them back and they were playing great ball at that point. I mean, they still wasn't, they were still a flawed team. I mean, in this league of parity, everybody's kind of flawed, which is why everybody really don't have a much a better chance than the other. But injuries like what happened with Luca and Austin Reeves, that's crushing. And then you got to have 41-year-old LeBron James having to, see how far he can elevate a depleted Lakers team. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Yep. That's pretty much, that's pretty much, you know, that'll make me want to retire. And I mean, not saying that, that's what he's going to do. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, at some point, it's like, uh, getting too old for this. Lethal Weapon, Danny Glover, getting too old for this. But yeah, it's looking bad. Yeah, poor Lakers. Rough break. But yeah, I mean, that is kind of the essence of, the West. And I mean, it's surprising, like I said, the West got 9 teams over 500 now. I mean, it's getting tight in both conferences. And you look at the top, you see the Spurs, you look at the Spurs and the Thunder. Um, it's looking like can we fast forward to it, but a lot of questions about San Antonio's experience. First playoff series for Wemby, got a very young team around them. I mean, you really just got Harrison Barnes with a ring, and De'Aaron Fox, who's played in maybe a playoff series in his career. Very limited playoff experience for them, but question is, have we ever experienced Victor Wembanyama before? And Victor was out, with an injury, which kind of leaves a lot of concerns. Can he make it through playing more minutes and the duration of games back to back, or I mean, every other night? Uh, that's gonna be an interesting equation right there. I mean, the lineups are gonna get tighter. Can Wemby stay up through a whole series, a whole grueling type of run? But the question is, what happens if Wemby's minutes go up? I mean, if he's putting up the type of numbers he's putting up in the limited minutes he's putting them up in, I mean, imagine what happens if he does play 34, 35 minutes. That's going to be interesting. That's an interesting scenario there. But yeah, I mean, and then you got OKC, coming off a championship run. Is it a given that they were going to repeat? No, it's not a given because hasn't had a repeat since the 2010s. So it's interesting to see if, they can be upset. I mean, like I said, I'm not sure who's going to snag that eighth spot between the Clippers or the. I doubt the Warriors to do it, but I mean, can those teams? I mean, Kawhi has been carrying the Clippers all season long, got them back over 500. Salute to him because typically he has had trouble staying healthy throughout the course of the season. So now seeing him healthy and elevating the team as far as he's carrying them is very impressive. Typical Kawhi in his mid-30s at that. I mean, salute to Kawhi. If you haven't, go look at some Kawhi Leonard highlights from this season. He's been in like cyborg mode. He's taken out elite defensive players and put up big numbers against them. So definitely been elevating them. I mean, even after James Harden being traded, bringing in Darius Garland, Harden's making it work with anybody. Like, hey, he's healthy, playing some of the best ball he's played in a long time, especially in the regular season. Um, yeah, like I said, Portland, going to be a far reach to see if they make it into the playoffs. I think they probably want to be the odd team out, but at the same time, the Warriors are not looking that great. Like I said, the more Steph is relied upon as he gets older, the more it strains himself out. It's been, more injuries. Hate to see it, but the Warriors haven't really been able to put something for him. I mean, like I said, that trade for Jimmy Butler was a swing for the fences, and it's kind of striking out for him at this point. But yeah, the West is still pretty good. Even I mean, the West is not, done yet, but I mean, the East is looking like it's pretty much catching up to the West. I mean, this is kind of like parity at the utmost, which is why couple of weeks, about next week, should be no more complaining about tanking, which is the best part of it is that you don't see a lot of the tanking complaints. You're not going to see a lot of tank. You're not going to see any tanking complaints in the playoffs. All the bad teams are going to be vanquished. Um, all the indictments about no defense. Teams definitely going to be playing defense in the playoffs. Scoring, you know, gonna see, hopefully like last year. A lot of teams. I don't know if anybody, people spoke about it, but the refs really let them become more physical last year. It's actually been a little bit more physical this year as well. A lot of people ain't noticed it because they're still caught up in their regular season complaints about too many threes and no defense and tanking and all that good stuff. But then when the playoffs come, it'll be more physical. Um, see a little bit better defense. You start seeing, different adjustments. I think it's just like I said, everybody's ready to see the playoffs at this point. I think everybody's anxious. Everybody is just hoping to see how it's all going to play out. Me, I'm looking forward to the playoffs as well as the draft lottery. I want to see how critical it's going to be. See, with all this talk about tanking, who's really going to end up benefiting from it. How the chips going to fall out. Last year, Dallas had some of the worst odds to win it, and they won it. So it's not a given. It's not a guarantee. I would like to see a team that actually really need a star prospect to actually get one. Um, it would be great to see Chicago get a number one pick again. I mean, not again, but I mean, get a top pick. You know, haven't had one since I believe it was Derrick Rose, or maybe Derrick Rose, yeah. But and then you see, it'd be crazy if the Bucks, well, that pick's going to either the Hawks, if it's the Hawks or the Pelicans. But yeah, I mean, it's going to the Hawks either way. Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton coming back with one of the top prospects, or even the Brooklyn Nets. You put one out there with Michael Porter Jr. or just rebuild, or probably have some those rookies that they draft could probably be some good role players, maybe just to rebuild. But I think the Nets and the Bulls are probably two of the most depleted rosters that could possibly use um, a great draft pick the most. Same thing as far as the Jazz. I think the Jazz already has Ace Bailey. He's starting to turn the corner. Keontae George is starting to turn the corner. They just traded for Jaren Jackson Jr. I don't really necessarily think, you know, I mean, I think it would be the first that they ever had a number one pick, but I don't necessarily think they actually need one. The Kings, I don't think the Kings have ever had a number one pick either. And they can definitely always use one. They're typically at the bottom of the league every time. I think a lot of times it was also discussing selling the team or relocating it. But Kings have always had a loyal fan base as well. Though. I mean, I remember those days with C Webb and Mike Bibby and all of them too. So I mean, Sacramento always had a great fan base. So give them a good team. It's been a while since they've been really competitive. Like I said, De'Aaron Fox got them to the playoffs a couple years ago, but it's been a while since the Kings have been competitive. You know, or one of those picks, the Bensa or Aaron Peterson being added to the Mavericks with Cooper Flag. That'd be an interesting concept right there. Um, Memphis Grizzlies trying to get rid of John Morant, still can't get rid of John Morant. That'll be interesting dynamic to see if they can get a top pick. But yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, some teams are tanking, some teams are already bad, just trying to get a little worse. I mean, I'm not trying to justify it, but it'll all be over in the regular season. There'll be a draft lottery, and maybe some team that tanked all hard won't be able to, benefit from it. Probably end up with the fifth pick instead of the first pick. So that's just how it works. But that's it for the NBA. We went through the NCAA men's basketball team winning. Oh, shout out to UCLA's women's team for pulling off their big time BTA on South Carolina. Big win for them. But yeah, went through NFL mock draft, went through the NBA. Everybody just jumping on. If you're still catching on, subscribe, like, comment, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. Definitely. But final segment for tonight, pro wrestling, WWE. As we get closer to WWE, WrestleMania 42. I talked about it last week. You can go refer back to episode 21, and you can see me discussing the matchups and the card. I talked about, Cody Rhodes and Cody Rhodes and sorry, Randy Orton. I talked about Gunther and Seth Rollins. I talked about Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar and CM Punk against Roman Reigns. Um, the cool part about it is, you see some of these names have become legendary, like CM Punk and Roman Reigns, and you see the Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, legacy men. Um, Gunther is becoming like the new animal, the new, you know, legend killer, retiring everybody left and right. And you see Obafemi, the new beast, going against the old guard of Brock Lesnar. But I'm watching these cards and I see CM Punk on Monday Night Raw. He made a very scathing promo going at Vince McMahon. I've thought about the 2011 pipe bomb he made, you know, and it really thought about the greatest promos or the greatest wrestlers who are known for making promos. And it's like, you know, thinking back at who had the greatest promos ever. Like who is the wrestlers who are known for the greatest promos? Not so much the actual greatest promos. That's another episode. See, I'm gonna get into the next, further down the line into more wrestling content about the actual greatest promos. And when I mean greatest promos, it's like greatest single promos, like Scott Hall, NWO Invasion, first, that type of stuff. But this one here, I just want to kind of go through the best, wrestlers that are known for great promos, like just period, like wrestlers who had the most charisma, most mic skills. That's what I mean by best promos. You know what I mean? Like, because we all know that it's great to have the moves in the ring. Me, I prefer the mat technicians myself. It's great to have those moves. It's great to have the look, but you got to have to be able to back it up on the mic to be a premier, top superstar wrestler, to be a draw, to be somebody that people put butts in the seats. You got to be able to draw on the mic. And I thought, like, who is probably the most, as far as everybody really talked about, the best on the mic. Pretty much known for, like I said, being a draw. And I thought about all the promotions, of course. But as far as the most commercially known pro wrestlers that are the best mic skills, it's easily these five that come to mind. And I'm going to start it off with number five. And, this doesn't have to be your order, but this is kind of my order, kind of how I looked at it. Like I said, as far as everybody knows, I got my underrated promos as well. I'm going to just mention those names. But the first one that everybody should know, number five, is Hulk Hogan. Yeah. Hulk Hogan, the real American or the NWO, doesn't matter. Hulk Hogan on the mic, cannot deny him. He had the charisma, he had the skills to really draw people in. One of the things about Hulk Hogan, it got so stagnant and stale, but it was a formula. And part of that, a lot of that formula was Hulk Hogan yelling into the mic, pumped up. The cliche lines: train, say your prayers, take your vitamins. What you're gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you. Yeah, everybody knows that Hulk Hogan. That whole spill. If you know that, that's for the casual fan. That's what drew the casual fan in. He's one of the originators of Mike's, not one of the originators. I mean, Mike skills goes all the way back. But as far as spearheading the golden era of pro wrestling, Hulk Hogan and his usual spill can't be denied. Wasn't my particular favorite. I mean, as a kid, it was like, oh wow, yeah, Hulk Hogan juiced up. Now you look at it like, man, same old spill. But at the time it worked and can't deny the impact. So that was number five as far as top wrestler mic skills / promos. Number four, got to go with the OG, Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes talked some of the best trash on the mic. Dusty Rhodes, I remember he was mocking Ric Flair's cashmere coat with this one, the little petty chuckle laugh. See that big mink. Dusty talked big cash money, man. Like Dusty was that guy when it came to, relating, talk the job talk. This is back in the 70s too. Like I said, he one of the OGs on the mic. I mean, when it comes to those mic skills, you know what I mean? Dusty Rhodes definitely had the drip. You know what I'm saying? Big Dusty definitely had the drip. And you can see his son inherited, Cody Rhodes inherited a good bit of it, but Dusty was OG with it, man. Like in the 70s with it. I mean, you see old clips of him hooping and doing all type of stuff, man. Dusty was like, he was big time in the 70s, man. Yeah, Dusty Rhodes definitely had that type of drip, man. Um, got the number 4, Hogan number 5, Dusty Rhodes number 4 on the mic. Go to my top 3. Nature Boy, number 3. And you got to be dope to get past Nature Boy, man, because Nature Boy is another one. Like his promos, legendary, timeless. You know, walk that aisle, the dirtiest player of the game, kiss dealing, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. Limousine riding. I mean, he had quotes for days. I mean, he can easily still be the go to promos. I mean, he could still be the GOAT. I wouldn't even be mad at it because Rick talked that trash talk. I mean, Ric Flair drip, definitely. I mean, influential promos. I mean, rap albums, people put his promos on there. I mean, Ric Flair promos is everywhere. I mean, he definitely personified promos and, you know, prime time wrestling right there. Ric Flair, definitely OG. I'm gonna go to number 2, Stone Cold. Needless to say, yeah. Austin 316. This is the 1996 King of the Ring. And, you know, Austin gave little bit of pieces of Mike's skills up until this point in his career. When he was in WCW, he was kind of stuck in the mid card and couldn't really break ahead. And then at that point, WCW in the mid 90s, they was like bringing in all the old WWF stars at that time, the Hulk Hogan's, the Scott Halls, the Kevin Nash, and they was kind of pushing Stone Cold down to the mid card, and eventually he was let go, which was a grave mistake by WCW. He went to ECW, made a pit stop there. That's when you started seeing some of those promos. If you ever go on YouTube, just look up, Austin, Steve Austin ECW promos. You see him at ECW when it was ran by Paul Heyman, and he was making up some of the most wild promos you ever seen. His interviews and promos was crazy. And he got the WWE, WWF at the time. Vince McMahon tried to give him these crazy gimmicks that didn't work, the ringmaster and all this other nonsense. And then, he had Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, as his manager at first. And then when he finally broke loose from that, started becoming his own, that's when he became Stone Cold, you know what I mean? And then, that name right there kind of hit. But this was the moment, I feel like, when everybody, I think there was like a live show where people started to catch on, but this was the big time moment when he started becoming a household name. He won the King of the Ring. He went through like a 8-man tournament, won the last pinfall, and at the coronation, he beat Jake the Snake Roberts, and he kind of mocked Jake the Snake for having like a drinking habit and everything. He told him he'll get a can of Thunderbird, I believe. It was hilarious, but finally, Jake the Snake had to kind of like was taking a path of religion after he had a wild substance abuse type of thing, and Austin kind of mocked that, and he finally said, Austin 316 said, "I just whipped you, y'all know how to go," but yeah, after that it just took off. People started wearing Austin 316 shirts after that, and it kind of just showed like Stone Cold definitely ushered the dynamic shift in pro wrestling because he came at a point where promotions and was still trying to push these cartoon character like wrestlers down our throats. Still trying to give us these good guys, squeaky clean, wholesome image wrestlers. And American society, we were just kind of drifting away from that. We wanted real life people. We wanted real life, where bad guys sort of became good, you know. And Stone Cold was kind of like representative of that. Excuse me. But yeah, the whole image of him fighting Vince McMahon, fighting the authority and everything like that. And, you know, that's kind of where society was headed. Stone Cold, bald headed, drinking beer on the ring, drinking beer in the ring, shooting birds. That's where the bad guy kind of became the good guy. We didn't want to see the whole squeaky clean image anymore. So to me, that was definitely, you know, pivotal to say the least, because Stone Cold definitely was that big shift. And then finally, Number one, gotta go with The Rock. The Rock, uh, once they let The Rock go, it was on. Like, you know what I mean? It was kind of like the same thing with The Rock. He came in a time where, you know, the crowd was kind of the audience and the crowd was just rejecting those squeaky clean, wholesome image wrestlers. And, these Hulk Hogan types, WWF just kept trying to make another Hulk Hogan or, you know, WCW already kind of made the transition towards Hulk Hogan already became a heel at that point. So WCW was already embracing like real wrestlers with real names and real matches and storylines. And, WWF was a little slow to jump on. But once they did, there was a particular wrestler, I think third generation, Rocky Maivia. They try to package The Rock as that third generation guy and everything. And, you know, he didn't get a lot of reception. I mean, to say he didn't get a lot of reception is an understatement. The crowd was really chanting "Die Rocky, die!" like savages. You know what I mean? Like people couldn't stand Rocky, couldn't stand the Rocky Maivia. You know what I mean? They couldn't stand the Intercontinental Champion being put on him and everything. And finally, The Rock was like, you know what? I'm just going to just be himself, and everything took over from there. You know what I mean? Everything from catchphrase after catchphrase to, you know, comedy after comedy, roast after roast. The Rock was just, he took promos to a whole nother level. Like, honestly, the standard for promos is a little bit, has gotten ridiculously high. If there wasn't an attitude era, promos wouldn't be as bad, it wouldn't be bad now. You know why? Because Attitude Era raised the promo standards so high. I mean, stuff The Rock would say now would get canceled, probably get him canceled. Went through that PG period. But he took it there. He pushed the boundaries. You know what I mean? To me, he was the promo king. I mean, I remember when the audience got tired of the long promos without the wrestling, like, all the talking with no wrestling. That didn't happen with The Rock. And we didn't care how long The Rock was talking. The Rock could talk as long as he wanted to talk. And then especially when he got to the "If You Smell What The Rock Is Cooking" line, and he looks up, people's eyebrow, all that good stuff. Listen, when The Rock did promos, we didn't care how long the promos were. Everybody else was like, come on, let's hurry up, get to the match already. Hurry up, get to the match. The Rock changed promo, especially on Monday Night Raw. And then they even made the show SmackDown after him. And the fact that SmackDown is not what it used to be is appalling. That a show named after The Rock, basically named after terms coined by The Rock, basically The Rock made famous, has rendered itself to where you have no kind of mic skills on that show whatsoever. That is an outrage. But that's my rant, and that's my top five. Charismatic mic skills, promo guys that you have right there. Um, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to wrestling. Oh yeah, I'm surprised no mention of Angel Reese. Her trade is hot. Oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, big trade. Angel Reed getting traded to the Atlanta Dream. That's going to be interesting with her and Brittany Griner right there. I want to see how they fortify the paint on a team that's already contending in the East. Atlanta Dream look like it's going to be a lot of revenue through there as well. I mean, I think that's a big move for both sides, for Angel Reese and the Atlanta Dream. I look forward to that too as well. I mean, yeah, I think that's going to be a big time. I think that's going to be a big time show. I think that's going to be a big time move for the Atlanta Dream right there. Big revenue boost. Great move for Angel Reese as well. You're on a competitive team. You would, another big with Brittany Griner. Yeah, great mention of Angel Reese as well. I mean, I didn't forget about her as well. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to see how the WNBA draft and everything else is going to come along as well. I mean, how else they put pieces around them. Definitely looking forward to seeing how that trade goes about. Um, Definitely gonna be back at you all next week, but definitely, thank you. I appreciate it. That's my time for this evening. Thank you all for the applause. Um, I'll be back next week with more sports developments. Like I said, more news and headlines and different creative episodes, segments as we get towards the NBA draft. NBA playoffs, NFL draft. You know, Baseball season picking up as well. I'm not really the biggest baseball fan, but with different headlines come up that I can't miss, I might even get into that a little bit as well. Might talk about a little something if something picked up, but might not be too big and too major. But yeah, definitely some good headlines going to be coming up. It's going to be coming up, and Saturday got the hip hop episode coming up at 10 o'clock. Y'all tune in for that. got the whole talk. I talk about Lil TJ and Offset, and then got some other new hip hop releases that came out. Got some great discussions to come up and revisit some albums as well. But y'all tune in for that. I have more posted up. I have more postings throughout the week. Like I said, getting over the hump, getting towards the last 2 days of the week. Y'all enjoy the rest of your week. Y'all tune in Saturday, 10 o'clock. It's the Left Fresh podcast. You can find me on Instagram at This Is Left Fresh. You can find me on TikTok at This Is Left Fresh. Until then, like I said, Left Fresh Show. I'm out. Y'all have a great night, all.